This year has been a complete nightmare, to be honest. COVID, the loss of jobs, not being able to pay rent, the elections, and let's not forget we still have 2 months to go. For normal people, yes, this year was bad, but what about all the criminals who are facing their trials this year? It was extra shit for them. I can't even imagine being in that position. I mean, if I was in court about to be sent off to jail for life, being unhinged would be an understatement of what I'd be feeling. What is up, you guys? Hope you're having an awesome day. I'm your host, Ayman Hassan, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to trial the top 10 insane courtroom freakouts of 2020. Starting us off at number 10 is Jeremy Christian. So back in May of 2017, Jeremy was behind the Portland train attack where he stabbed and killed 2 men, injuring a third, all the while shouting racist and Islamophobic slurs at everyone. A self-proclaimed white nationalist and supremacist, he also undertook another hate crime attack the day before the train attack. That was that he tried to murder Jewish man Micah Fletcher, but thankfully he survived. All around, the guy is a douchebag. I'm sorry, I have no sympathy towards those kind of people, like, go to hell. Anyway, Jeremy's trial took place in February of this year and things got pretty out of hand. Witnesses and family members of the victims took the stands and Jeremy can be seen shouting at the one victim who he didn't actually end up killing. He says things like, "I should have killed you," as well as using the N-word and other racial slurs. Thing like, "Go back to Tennessee, we don't want you here, all your race is making bullshit." Then he rips off his mask and shouts George Floyd like he was happy Floyd got killed. The whole thing was just super unsettling to watch, and he eventually just got escorted out of the courtroom. Coming in at number 9 is Bryce Rhodes. Now back in 2016, Bryce was accused of murdering Christopher Jones, Maurice Gordon, and Larry Ordway. Bryce had been through 2 attorneys already before he was in court at the end of last year trying to get rid of his third one. He was back in court in March of this year, and Bryce starts berating Judge Cunningham, asking why he refuses to get this man off his case and whether he has something personal against him or not. He goes on further and says, "Are you some type of racist, or you all got some kind of sexual relationship going on?" If that wasn't bad enough, he also accused the judge of being secretly part of the KKK. Ordway and Gordon's grandma also had an outburst during the hearing since the murders took place 4 years prior. She shouted at the judge saying it's been 4 years and nothing's been done. I agree with you, 4 years, the justice system needs a little bit of work. At number 8 we have Joseph Franco, not one of the Franco brothers, otherwise that would have been a huge scandal in and of itself. Now Joseph had his plea hearing in Miami in January of this year for a drunk driving incident that occurred in July of 2018. He was drunk behind the wheel when he ran off the road, hitting a car with Amir Peleg and his wife and 2 daughters inside. The crash killed Amir on the spot, his daughters were also quite badly injured, and his wife Zulma suffered a pretty serious brain injury. At the hearing, Joseph pleaded guilty and got sentenced to 3 years in prison and 5 of probation. Apparently he was not only drunk but inhaling nitrous oxide since he had the can with him in the car. The judge said it was the most people that had ever gathered for a plea hearing ever. But the freakout we're talking about didn't happen during the hearing, it happened right after. You can see Joseph's mom hysterically crying as soon as she leaves the courtroom, and then upon seeing this, Zulma goes up to her and says, "If you think that is much, then you don't know," before hitting her on the shoulder. I would be pissed too if my husband got killed and you're crying over your son going to prison for like a year or 2, bite me. He killed my husband! I'm saying it like I'm her. I'm so salty. Filling at number 7 slot is Destiny Burr. So 22-year-old Omaha local Destiny was already in trouble with the law over her drug problems. In August of this year, she was taken to drug court after failing to complete the Southeast Nebraska drug court program. Despite not having any previous criminal record, she was charged with attempted conspiracy to distribute drugs like meth and sentenced to 1 year in prison. Apparently it was actually a family affair and her family members were also more involved than she was, so when the sentence was announced, Destiny's mum started full out swearing at the judge. She eventually had to be removed and taken into custody for contempt of court. After a while she cooled down, came back and apologized to the judge, for obviously letting her emotions take over, and she was no longer ruled. So I mean, it did end well for the mother, just not for Destiny. Now at number 6 is Dominique Brisker. Me and Chris can't decide how to pronounce this guy's name. If it's a guy, we kind of think it's meant to be Dominic, but it's spelled Dominique, so really, I'm just gonna go with Dominic here. So back in November of 2017, Dominic and his co-conspirator were behind a shooting at the Quick Stop Marathon. A man was shot in the leg and the police was called ASAP and both assailants fled the scene. Brisker was eventually then arrested in Minneapolis and his trial took place in Jan of this year. The jury and judge found him guilty of level 4 felony unlawful possession of a firearm and sentenced him to 12 years in jail. And when that verdict was read, boy did he lose it. He started swearing at everyone and flipping chairs and tables in the courtroom, so much so that Judge David Happ gave him an extra 6 months in jail. Dude, he's like that meme, you know those like OG memes, just like flip table. I would also flip tables if I found out I was going to prison for 12 years. Coming in at number 5 is Desmond Jones. So this hearing took place in Feb of this year with Judge Tracy F. Holmes presiding over. Jones was about to be sentenced for the kidnapping and murder of a young girl called Siobhan Randall. Apparently the crime started off as a drug deal but turned into a sour mugging / robbery. In the video he's sitting down in handcuffs, and all the while he's sitting he starts getting majorly irked and starts shouting expletives at someone in the gallery. The video never shows who, but he continues berating that person until Judge Holmes tells the other person to get out and for Jones to sit the hell down while he's still talking major shit. Eventually it gets to the point he stands up again and starts talking even more crap and gets taken down by one of the officers and kind of tackled to the floor. He then gets dragged out of the courtroom by 4 officers as his hysterical mum is shouting Desmond as he goes. At number 4 is Julian Assange. So if you haven't heard of Julian, he was the founder of WikiLeaks, so we like him, but of course he has done a lot of illegal things and violated many laws. Earlier in September he was in court for his extradition case, and while Reprieve charity founder Clive Stafford Smith took the stand in favor of Julian, he was met with a lot of backlash from James Lewis QC. The two got into a heated argument about Julian leaking information about the US drone strikes in Pakistan, and Julian tried to interject multiple times before Judge Vanessa Baretsa stopped him. She then told him, "If you interrupt proceedings, it is open to me to proceed in your absence." So basically, he was told to shut the hell up or get the hell out. Filling at number 3 slot is Deron Richards. Richards had been charged with burglary and had already been in court in June for a preliminary hearing to judge his competency. Even before that trial, Deron was yelling at the judge saying he had the right to speak his mind and how the whole thing was illegal and that he wanted a new attorney. The bailiff forced him out of the courtroom while he shouted, "If you want to remove me, then bye, I'm out of here." He's saying it like he's mic dropped the situation when he really hasn't. After it was concluded that he was fit to stand trial, his actual court hearing took place a month later in Sacramento. His disruption in the prelim and his refusal to show up for his second hearing meant it could go on without him, and it did. Now at number 2 is William Sloth. The Ariel Castro kidnappings would have probably still been a thing if it wasn't for Amanda Berry's call that fateful night in 2016. In February of this year, William was accused of murdering Berry, and before he even comes into the courtroom, he purposely falls onto the ground so the officers have to physically drag him to the window. As the judge says he's here for murder, Sloth starts shouting at her, being like, yeah, whatever you like. Yeah. And at this point, the officer pinches him to stop him by the looks of it. When she asks him if he needs the help of legal counsel, he says, "Mother, I didn't do nothing." You can see him laughing and acting a bit unstable, and he even tells the police officers holding him up that they're liars as well, when they haven't even said anything. The judge then sets his bond at $1 million, and he leaves saying, "I ain't ever talking to any of you again." Yeah, you're probably not, because no one's gonna bail you out. $1 million? That's not easy to come by. And finally, at number 1 is Phillip Ox. I really bookended this video well by starting with a white supremacist and ending off with one. Kudos to me. Now, this 45-year-old was already in prison due to his beneficial insulation company, where he would charge $14.88 per meter, which is apparently a very big hate symbol with all these white supremacists, and something to do with Germany and the Third Reich. That sort of avenue. He was arrested and convicted of 2 charges of distributing an objectionable publication. Yes, that was hard to say for me. Anyway, while he was there, he sent an alarming number of letters, around 49, as well as had many monitored phone calls that made authorities feel like he would cause further harm to the Muslim community and would definitely re-offend. They released him regardless with the condition of being electronically monitored, and he also wasn't allowed anywhere near the 2 mosques in the city or contact any Muslim people. He violated those conditions by going near Christchurch Mosque when the shootings were taking place and releasing the horrible footage of the massacre at Al Noor Mosque. He had asked his friend to edit in a kill count as well, and I actually saw this video when the incidents happened and I nearly cried. It's actually just horrific. Phillip was then given another 21 months in jail, and he just had his new hearing like a week ago. Even before court was in session, he was verbally abusing journalists, calling the media whores and loving months. When he was back in court a few days ago, he can be heard saying, "White power, bring on the cull," and then can be seen marching out of the court whistling. How unsettling, you guys. That is it for today's video. Honestly, it was quite hard to find courtroom freakouts since 2020 with COVID and all. Not a lot of things have been happening, and not a lot of trials have been being publicized, so it's like, where do I find the content? Anyway, let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. As always, I'm your host, Even Hassan, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye! Today, we are going to trial with I'm so lame. Witnesses and family members. What is this noise? Oh, I literally thought you were cracking your knuckles. I was like, Chris, how many do you have? And starts shouting expletives. I can never say this word! Expletives. And for Jones to sit the hell down. Earlier in September, he was in court for his extradition case, and while Reprieve Charity founder Clive to judge his competency. Oh! What was that? Oh. I'm small. I thought something flew in. Wait, I need my heart to calm down. He was arrested and convicted of 2 charges of... I don't know what I'm saying.